Right, so for today's planting I did notice a rather powerful and deeply unpleasant smell while I was digging the hole, and we were actually burying this in a Ponerine ant nest. I will put the best guess name of the species up on the screen with a picture of it. It produces a really unpleasant stink. It's sometimes called a stink ant. It mostly preys on earthworms and other soft-bodied invertebrates, but it's exclusively predatory, so it's really not a problem around plants in the way that some other ants can be. It doesn't farm aphids and scales, it doesn't go after the plants at all, so it's quite alright generally, and its colonies aren't that large, so it doesn't tend to do too much disturbance of plants around the bases, although it can, during the rains when it's creating its turrets for its young to fly, it can bury small plants. Hopefully anything you're planting as a tree is going to be big enough not to be overwhelmed by that. This one is not the aloe that's going in first. This is a hybrid aloe. This is tree height in some cases, although it does tend to fall over as soon as it would get to a height that I would say is tree. So the largest one we've got has got to 4 meters tall and is looking very much like it's planning to fall over this rainy season. It does branch quite thoroughly, which is unlike most of the aloes, which have a generally similar look, and it's probably a hybrid between Aloe arborescens and Aloe thrasky. I've gone back and forth on the name of it for a while, but I spoke to someone I know who is quite good on aloes recently, and they looked at it and they looked at a picture of the flowers and they reckoned that was what this had originated as. That is going to be quite a decent marker plant. It's also going to be quite a succulent thicket around the base of this. It's also going to be prickly, but that's not really so necessary here because today's tree comes equipped with its own prickles. So this is Carissa, I think it's Carissa macrantha. I might have that a little bit mixed up. It'll be up on the screen, but it is sometimes called the large num-num or the Natal plum. It's a South African tree. I think it might extend to Mozambique. It's quite a relatively sour fruit. Not much smaller than a sort of standard European plum. It's not really closely related to a plum at all, but it can be used to make a lot of jams, a lot of preserves, and as far as I know it can be eaten out of the hand. It's not as sour as something like a K apple, but it is quite tart. It is also very prickly, which is why it's sometimes planted as a barrier hedge, because it's very hardy and very thorny. It does grow in much drier environments than we are here, so it should cope very well with going in this sort of heat. I might need to plant some extras if I do want fruit from this, because although they do have male and female plant parts in every flower, the flowers are shaped in such a way that only the male or only the female is particularly accessible in most, and while the ones that have the female more accessible do tend to self-pollinate quite well, the ones that have the male part most accessible don't tend to bear fruit very often at all. So we'll have to see which one this is, and if it doesn't produce, then we'll get one from a different nursery, because very often they're reproduced by cutting rather than seed. So to be on the safe side, I will try doing that. We're also going to be adding some pieces of the calico fetchinkoi around this to create an additional succulent layer around the base, and then finally we're going to be adding a large piece of the Opuntia ficus indica, which is the Barbary fig or prickly pear, which should create quite a nice fireproof barrier and a much more succulent thicket than the aloe will, much more quickly. Really all you want to do with these at this time of year is lie them on top of the soil. If you dig them in at all, I find at this time of year, in our soil at least, once that rain hits, they really rot. This is one that got broken off by a falling branch a while ago in a shadier spot, so it might get a little bit of sunburn out here to begin with, but it should settle in fine once it's passed through that. And that should be everything for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow, because I should be planting something else unless I melt in this heat, but we'll see.